Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Vision Pros. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. And today on our show, we have Kason Morris. And before I introduce him, I want to tell you a little bit about him. Something on his website caught my eye, actually, multiple things. And I'm going to just read right off the website because I love it. First off, Kason is a strategist, speaker, systems thinker, and he's a proud father of four. But he says, I'm not here to talk about your job title. And this is what I love, because enough of the job titles, right? Enough throwing around all that perceived significance that's behind a job title. What he's here to do is help you build a life and a career that actually works. And he says his systems were built in the Bronx and tested in boardrooms. And I got to say one more thing, and then I'm going to introduce him for real. But on his website, on the About page, he says, why I built life work design. He says, after corporate burnout and divorce, I realized something nobody tells you. Success on paper means nothing if your life doesn't work for you. Kason Morris, welcome to Vision Pros.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So much good stuff just right there to dive into. But before we get to it, I like to start off with a win. So, Kason, what's a win for you professionally or personally that you can share with our listeners?
Yeah, I would say a personal win for me right now actually is happening this week. Was able to take a week away from my founder work, from my executive work, and spent a couple of days on the beach with my daughters and my wife and my mom. Because it's one of those things where sometimes you're always on go, and you have to recognize that you also have to take pauses to renew and reset and re-energize so you can continue to push forward. So those things matter to me. So that's definitely a win in my book. And I'm happy to come back with clarity and have this conversation with you today.
Yeah, right on. So you took some time for some self-care and some connection with family, it sounds like.
100%.
Right on. So I've told the audience a little bit about you, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Kason Morris, what is your vision?
Yeah, I think you did a great job of introducing the idea of my vision. So again, for those that are getting to know me, Kason Morris, and ultimately my vision is really to help professionals stop surviving and to start designing. I'm a big believer that our careers and our work shouldn't be a trap. It should actually be a tool. And we're entering this new future that's really, it's all about our clarity. It's all about optionality. It's all about having a narrative that will matter way more than any job title that you'll ever have. Because when you think about the data that's there today, more than 50% of our skills are going to be outdated within the next couple of years. That's coming from Forbes, from World Economic Forum. They're saying that up to 40% of jobs will require reskilling within the next 5 years. And as we all know, AI and emerging technology is changing the game. So with all that in mind, my vision is, how do I help professionals actually step forward and go into thrive mode when all we're trying to do is figure out what's next?
Mm-hmm. So much good stuff there. There is the juxtaposition of going for the title, going for that role, going for that next promotion, which is nothing wrong with that, right? And it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. That's one way to live life, not a bad way to live life. But what you're saying is there's another way.
Yeah.
And it can probably live within even that model that we're used to. But what you're talking about is, and the word you used, the word I'm going to call attention to is designing your life.
Yep.
Because what that says to me is that smacks of intention and a sense of deliberateness. Is that accurate?
100%. I mean, if you even think about it, what I call the concept is life work design, and even that term has intentionality, because when you think about it, right? What do we typically, when we talk about trying to figure out work, what do people say? They say work-life balance. Like, let's just take that and break it down, right? first of all, you're leading with the idea of work, and most people define themselves by what they do.
Yeah.
And that's why I intentionally flipped it around. I was like, work shouldn't define what you do and who you are. You should really be thinking about, what is your life? What is your intention? And how does work become a tool in that? And in
Yeah.
the other word, when I think about balance, when you think about balance, right, in a way, work and life, balance is kind of a false dichotomy, because these things will never be equal. And what I talk about in my coaching, in my books and thought leadership, is that we're trying to find more so synergy and alignment. It's knowing the season that you're in. So I was very, very intentional about flipping that around. Is that it's not about work-life balance, it's about life-work alignment or life-work synergy, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out, what wave are we in now? How do we set ourselves up? How is our design for our life actually driving what we want to do next, and how is work a tool in that? And I think it's a very powerful reframe, because at the end of the day, we're trying to design a life that you don't want to escape from. Like, even though I went on a vacation within the last couple of days, it wasn't necessarily an escape. It was more of a reset, and me aligning my life to know that I needed time with my family so that I can energize and get back to my work.
Yeah, well articulated. And again, I'm just going to bring a spotlight to a few things I heard and expand a little bit, because I really want our listeners to get this. You said, pay attention to the season of life you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, I mean, come on, just take a beat, people. Just take a beat and really answer this question. Like, what season of life am I in? I mean, get curious.
Yeah.
What season of life are you in? And answer that for yourself. If you can't answer it, like, really get curious,
Yeah.
because there are distinct seasons, right?
It's a great
And
call out.
yeah.
It's a great
And then
call
I
out.
also like what you said about, again, that intention, because a lot of us, and I've certainly been in what I'm about to say, we fall into that thing like, oh man, I got to get a job. I got to find a job, right? Again, nothing wrong with that, but so different than, I got to design a life that works for me.
Yeah.
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 This is big stuff. And to a lot of people, maybe you're not hearing the distinction. So I encourage you to lean in. Like what Kason is talking about is designing a life work, a life that works for you, that includes some sort of intentional career here, is really good. My next question for you is, why is all this important to you?
Why is it important to me?
Yeah.
When I think about it, I feel like in this stage of my career, I think about my own journey, and even some of what you talked about in my about section. I think about it, and I call it the relentless climb. So for me, I went the traditional route. I chased the titles. I worried about the promotions. I was thinking about, how do I get more access to opportunity? How do I make more money? And frankly, all of that led to my burnout, and it led to my relationships falling through. And what I realized was that logic wasn't serving me anymore. And once I had that reset and that reframe, and I started putting on the hat of a designer, it
Mm-hmm.
changed everything for me. And it allowed me to navigate through 10 different pivots and promotions across 6 or 7 different industries. So no longer about title, but it was really more about, how am I creating leverage based on what I want to do? And then how am I taking that leverage and creating liquidity for myself, using my skills as currency in different ways, whether it's speaking, whether it's workshops, whether it's my 9 to 5 work, whether it's something that is a business that is driven by my purpose. And then how do I use those things to create options? And through that whole sequence, which is part of what I teach and I talk about, it's allowed me to navigate corporate for the last 20 years, but not from the position of being a passenger, but from the position of being a true driver of what's next for me. And when
Mm-hmm.
when I think about it in that way, I always feel like I have a sense of ownership and a sense of freedom in that. And I wasn't stuck in jobs and opportunities that looked good on paper, but didn't feel right for me. And
Yeah.
that's why I do it, because I've been doing it for some years now, and I didn't really realize what I was doing until COVID happened. And when COVID happened, the entire world stood on its head. It was a macroeconomic shift, not even just in economics, but basically people had their fancy titles and their degrees, and they thought they were, basically protected. And
Mm.
COVID shifted all those things. And what I realized at that time, was, as these shifts happened, people lost jobs, people's situations, they completely changed. And yet I was good. I actually, around that time, doubled my salary. And people were looking at me like, hey, what are you doing that's different? And I had to step back and think about that. And that allowed me to start to distill the different frameworks, tools, mindset shifts that turned my career into a launch pad for my own life work freedom. And so there's no fluff, just the proof. And I started helping others ever since.
Yeah. So good. And one of the things that's I was just getting present to while you were talking was your energy, man. It's I love how calm you are. You're very present. I really appreciate that about you. And I also really appreciate it. Again, want to call out what you were alluding to is there's a question behind your statement was like, who's in the driver's seat of your life?
Yep.
Yeah, right. Who's driving this thing? Right. Who are you being caused in the matter of your life, or have you surrendered that to the machine and you're just kind of looking for a way to get on the machine? I love this idea of like, who's driving this thing? And again, I want to ask our listeners, are you in the driver's seat? Are you calling the shots of your life? Or are you caught up in excuses and the blame game? Um,
Yep.
and now I want to play devil's advocate with you, okay? Because there are no doubt some people that are going to hear what you're saying and they're going to love what you're saying, but
Yep.
they're also going to say, yo, Kason, let's get real, dude. How am I supposed to do what you're saying when I gotta, pay the bills, when I gotta go to work, when I gotta feed the dog and take care of the kids and, make dinner? Come on, come on. How am I supposed to get off this merry-go-round? I'm not, is this only for entrepreneurs? Like, talk to me about
Yeah.
that.
No, I love it. I love that you brought that up, because one of the things that I think, when people put on this designer's mindset, one of the things I evangelize is that you start from where you are. So, and I also emphasize the idea that, your skills are your currency, and people are sitting on a literal war chest of skills, talents, things that are very unique to them that they can use in different ways, whether it's in their 9 to 5 or in some entrepreneurial fashion. Not everyone's meant or built to be the traditional entrepreneur, and that's very much okay. But what I want to emphasize is that you have to start to think about your skills and what you're able to do and how you're able to serve others in a more diversified way. You are more than your job titles. You are a story and an embodiment of different experiences. And those experiences, some of them are going to really energize you and they can really help other people. And that's what this conversation's about. It's all about when you have that mindset shift and you start to better understand what you're capable of and what the demand is for what you're capable of. Now it becomes about what's good enough for now. So it's not about transforming everything overnight. It's about
Mm-hmm.
how you show up in the situation that you're in. There are shifts that you can make that makes it good enough for now, so that you're getting up every day, because now you have more of a purpose. You may be in that job that feels like it's a rut, or you feel like you're trapped in the title. But guess what? Maybe you have some flexibility in the work that you do. Maybe you can start to do projects in that work that are a little bit more interesting and that give you more energy, projects that are highly valuable that let you develop new skills that are rare and valuable. And guess what those skills become? They become leverage. So it's all about helping people start to look at their situation a little bit differently and pick up their unique pieces so they can start to put the puzzle together. And that's one of the first critical unlocks in what I teach and speak about, is that everyone can start from where they are. And it's just about what is your journey to good enough? And let's figure out what that is, because then that becomes the springboard for whatever's going to happen after.
Right on. Again, I'm a big fan of repetition, right? So I'm going to call back some of these things that you just said, so we hear this. Number one, start where you are. Love this. We're not trying to suggest that you start 10 paces ahead of where you are. That would be ridiculous, right? No, start where you are. And one of the things that came to mind when you said that, start where you are. And then you said, you're sitting on a war chest of skills. And I love the imagery of this, because most of us, and I believe, and I concur with you, most of us are sitting on a war chest of skills that we are not currently using or that we have overlooked. And so get curious about, what are those skills that I've got that I could begin to, as you say, leverage. And this doesn't mean you have to go outside of your current career to leverage these. In fact, what I coach my clients to do is look inside your current job, your current career, your current position, and are there things that you could be doing or that you want to do that you're not doing? Get into conversation about that. Yep. Begin to build that perceived value, right? Because when you lead with value, the opportunities are going to follow. So really appreciate what you're saying here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, we're just about out of time here. If someone's listening to this and it's resonating with them and they want to either get in touch with you, learn more about, or get some of your books about this, what's the best way to connect with you?
I would say the best way to connect with me is my website, which is kasonmorris.com. I am still building, still designing, still growing, but you're going to find the latest and greatest in relation to my thought leadership and services. I also have a newsletter called the Life Work Dispatch. And the last good place to reach me is on LinkedIn. I try to keep active on LinkedIn. I post regularly. I also share a bit of a weekly live series that I've started up, again, just to get these concepts and these ideas out there to educate and energize. And these are the best ways to get in touch with me if you'd want to collaborate and work together, because it's all about clarity and confidence and helping you unlock, what you already have.
Yeah. Well said. Thanks so much for being on the show today. Definitely you are going to have you back. We're going to dive into some of your concepts more deeply. But again, Kason Morris, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a vision pro yourself.